Before this video begins, I'd just like to give an extra special thank you to my patron, the Beast Boss. Links to join the Patreon can be found in the description down below. In this episode of the TARDIS Coffee Break podcast, we're going to be discussing some Season 3 updates, some new figures, and other Doctor Who news. Okay, so this episode is a little bit earlier, coming out a little bit earlier in the week than I would normally be doing, because we've had a lot of sort of breaking news recently. Obviously it's not that breaking now because I'm a little bit late to it. I was planning on doing this as last Sunday's video, but I already had a video ready to go for that, which I was going to push back, but then I didn't get around to having time to make this episode of the podcast, and kind of wanted to see how the Graham Norton episode was going to play out and stuff like that before I actually discussed it. So I put that one out that I already had ready, and I've decided I'm going to have this one out a little bit earlier than I usually do, just because of the time sensitive nature of some of the discussions in this episode. So like I said in the hook of this video, we're going to be talking about some Season 3 updates from Doctor Who magazine and the Graham Norton show and stuff like that, or I guess lack thereof on the Graham Norton show, but we'll get into that later on. There's also been some secret Gallifreyan social media posts on the Doctor Who social medias, but we're going to be starting with the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday figures from Character Options. Okay, so this is the official press release for the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday figures on the Doctor Who website from Character Options. We've got some Character Options online exclusive Vortex edition figures for the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday that are going to be available to buy from the 17th of October, which I believe is going to be the day that this video is going out. And this is what those figures are going to look like. They look a lot better than a lot of the previous Doctor Who figures we've got from Character Options. There's more articulation, there's a few little accessories that come with it and stuff like that. And these are only going to be able to be purchased together for I think $39.99. Yeah, so it's going to be $39.99 for the both of them. You can't buy them individually, besides something that I'm going to talk about later on with the standard versions of these figures. So at the end of this article it states that there will be a mass retail version which will be available shortly afterwards in single fused blister card packs, with the 15th Doctor's shirt in teal, ocean green trousers and tan shoes, whilst Ruby Sunday is dressed in a denim jacket, blue skirts and cream jumper. So there is going to be some individually sold versions of these, but they're going to be different versions, possibly with the not as great articulation, but it might be just a different paint job. I'm not entirely sure yet, and that'll be coming shortly after in retail stores, not just on Character Options website like these ones are. Now, I've already pre-ordered a version of the 15th Doctor from Toy Street when I think it was probably accidentally listed for pre-order a while ago, alongside the Ruby Sunday figure as well, which I didn't pre-order, and also the Sonic Screwdriver before that was officially released, which I didn't get a chance to pre-order that at the time because it had already sold out with the pre-orders by then. But I'm assuming that Toy Street version, the individual pre-order, because they were individually listed figures, is going to be the retail version, and obviously because these are only meant to be available from the Character Options website. So I personally do think I am going to buy this double pack of the figures, just because I'm mostly wanting the Doctor, but I'm wanting the Doctor in that outfit, and the retail version is going to be a different outfit. I'm not sure if it's going to be as good quality, and the articulation might be a little bit different there. So I'd definitely much rather have this version, but I have already pre-ordered what I think is the retail version. I'm unsure whether I'm going to cancel that order and just get these, or maybe I'll wait and see what the retail one is going to look like before I do that. Either way, I'm going to be getting a 15th Doctor figure and possibly a Ruby Sunday figure, but I'm not sure if I really need the Ruby Sunday one. That's why I'm not sure exactly which route I'm going to take here with pre-ordering these figures or getting these figures. I don't have much space to display the figures. I've just got that shelf behind me, but I'm sure I can fit a Ruby Sunday figure on there if I do decide to keep it. And, you know, I wouldn't mind having a Ruby Sunday figure. It's not like I don't want one. I just originally only been planning on getting the 15th Doctor one initially, which I'm going to be getting either way, whether I get this one or the retail one, because I've already got the retail one pre-ordered. But let me know what you think about these figures in the comments down below. I know it's $39.99. It's quite a big price for these figures, but when you see how much of an upgrade they've had with these figures compared to previous Character Options figures, I think it is actually a fair price. I'm not saying all Character Options figures have been fairly priced in the past, but I think for these figures it is a fair price. But let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Okay, so the next topic, before we get on to the bigger Season 3 updates that I'm going to be talking about for most of this episode, is that people have noticed, particularly from, I think, this particular image, that there's been some Gallifreyan messages secretly hidden in Doctor Who's social media posts, particularly the pictures that they've been posting on Instagram and I think on Twitter as well, as far as I remember. They'd been happening before this particular post, but this was the one where it was the most noticeable, and then some people went back and saw it on this other post from the Devil's Cord behind the scenes, and this post from 73 Yards. So Ivy Hanover, or protagonist Ivy, who is one of those Twitter accounts that I'm quite familiar with, and I've seen some of her videos as well on her YouTube page. She's familiar with the Gallifreyan alphabet, specifically the one that's been used for this, which the BBC have been adopting more and more. I believe the alphabet that's being used here is kind of like a fan-made Gallifreyan alphabet, and the one that was initially being used in the show was just kind of made up and you couldn't actually translate it. But I know it's been making its way into the actual show itself recently as well. I think it's possible that even the Gallifreyan on the 15th Doctor Sonic Screwdriver might be in this fan-made Gallifreyan language as well. But Ivy is very familiar with that version of Gallifreyan and was able to translate some of these, well, all of these secret messages, at least that we've been able to find so far, from the Doctor Who social media posts that we've had with these on them. So I believe this 73 Yards one was the first one that we'd actually been able to find, the earliest posted one that we've at least been able to find. And Ivy has managed to translate this post, this particular secret message on this post, as saying hello. So it's a pretty simple one to get started off with. It just says hello, and if you can't see it, it's just down this bit here underneath, well, on Shooty's knee, basically. It's a little bit more difficult to make out here, so she's kind of struggled a little bit to translate it at first, thinking that it was initially a B, an E, two J's, and an O, but then she managed to find some extra modifiers that are part of the language that mean it actually does say hello. So that's the first earliest one that we were able to find, I think, or that everybody else was able to find after we found that really obvious one in the Rogue behind the scenes picture. The second one is this Devil's Cord one, which you can see just underneath the camera here. It's a bit smaller. It's a little bit easier to spot in this one because it's in white and it's kind of against a darker background, but I still don't think people spotted this at the time, including myself. This one apparently I think translates to "Can you hear me?" which I don't think is a reference to the episode Can You Hear Me? I think it's just, you know, building up on this these secret messages. They're getting more specific as they go on. And then this most recent one we got was on a Rogue behind the scenes picture and was a lot more obvious because it was against Shooty's white shirt and it was in black and it was a bit bigger than the previous messages. And this one apparently translates to "Keep your eyes peeled." So I don't think we've had any more of these since this one, and it doesn't seem to have been leading to any particular announcement like we thought it was. We thought maybe it was going to lead to a trailer on Graham Norton or something like that, but it didn't end up happening. It could just be the social media intern just kind of having a little bit of fun, but the fact that they've been getting more and more specific, and this is saying to keep your eyes peeled, it does kind of indicate that something is going to happen soon. Potentially the more obvious answer to that is that it's going to be a trailer for Joy to the World, but I'm not entirely sure when we're going to get that. For me personally, I am thinking that it's possible that we're not going to get that announcement or that trailer until the 23rd of November or something like that. They'll probably save it for Doctor Who Day, but I would like to see it a bit sooner than that, so that would be nice if that does happen, and if this is hinting at an announcement soon. I know some people as well were also thinking this could be hinting at an official confirmation and announcement of Doctor Who Season 3, but as we'll get onto later, that didn't end up happening, and I think that's unlikely to be announced anytime soon. But like I said, we'll get to that later on in this video with the main topic. Okay, so now we're pretty much onto what's leading into the main topic of Doctor Who Season 3 updates, with the latest letter from the showrunner segment of Doctor Who magazine. I haven't personally bought this issue myself, so I am kind of basing these points off of parts from Thari's video covering this new issue of the magazine, but I am just going to be talking about the letter from the showrunner segment. So if there's any other interesting things from Doctor Who magazine that you want to read from this issue, go out and buy the magazine yourself if it's still available near you. But Russell T Davies is basically going episode by episode for Doctor Who Season 2 in this issue and talking about how complete the different episodes are and giving us some hints towards the episodes themselves and going through the various stages of production that they are currently in. So starting with episode 201, which is the first episode of Doctor Who Season Season 2. Russell says, "This is 80% ready. I've just changed the title and it's the most wonderful showcase for Varada Sethu, as Belinda Chandra arrives in the Doctor's world with a massive slam, plus some of the most beautiful effects I've ever seen. As Phil says," and I'm assuming that's Phil Collinson, "we keep learning how to make this show, and this is one that really shows that off." So that's obviously for the first episode of Doctor Who Season 2, and it seems to be alluding to the fact that this is obviously going to be the episode where we're introduced to Belinda Chandra, the new companion. Whether or not Ruby is going to be in this episode, I'm not entirely sure. I personally think it's going to be more likely that she's going to show up halfway through the season, and we're going to be spending most of the season with the new companion, Belinda Chandra, played by Varada Sethu, and this seems like it's going to be a standard companion introduction episode for that character. For episode 202, Russell says, "I'd say 70% ready, though the effects vendors might say we have mountains to climb, and they're producing effects that the show has never tried before. Enormous fun and weird chills, with a lovely guest star as poor old Reginald Pye." So this is the second episode of Doctor Who Season 2, and it seems like it's going to be very VFX heavy for this episode, and they're going to be trying something quite experimental for the effects. Obviously, I'm not really sure what that's going to be, but he said it's something that they've not really done before, so it's going to be quite an experimental episode, at least in terms of what the VFX are doing. So we might have quite an experimental monster or something like that. And we know there's going to be another character in this called Reginald Pye. I believe that's the character's name and not an actor, but I could be wrong there. If I am wrong, let me know in the comments down below, but I believe he's hinting that they're going to have a lovely guest star, but they're not saying who that is, and that's just the character's name. For episode 203, Russell says, "Brr, I'm just saying, brr, scary." So he doesn't give too much details away for this episode. He's just hinting that it's going to be quite a scary one. I don't know if the brr that he's saying is because it's going to be scary or because it's going to be cold and scary. To me, that indicates it's going to be cold or set in some cold environment, but it could just be because he's kind of saying that it's going to be a scary episode, and that's kind of all it means. But he's keeping it very vague with this one, so it's going to be an exciting one to see, I think that. And I'm personally assuming this is going to be one that's maybe not written by Russell, but it's possible that it is. But we do know he's going to be writing less episodes this season. I believe we know he's only writing 4 episodes this season. Obviously, I think episode 1 is a safe bet. He could be doing episode 2 as well. I think that's fairly standard for him to do. So this could be the first one written by somebody else in this season. Okay, for episode 204, Russell says, "This was one of the first to be shot along with 201, so episode 1. So I'd say it's 95% ready, though none of these have a music score yet, so Murray would say this stands at 0.7%. A brand new slant on a Doctor Who story. I'm very excited for this to be seen." So it sounds like this is going to be another quite experimental episode, probably written by Russell again. So to me, this is definitely giving this season's kind of 73 yards vibe. I think episode 4 seems to be kind of reserved for these more experimental episodes that Russell has written, and it seems like that's going to be a little bit of a theme for this era. And if you know me and you've seen my reviews for Doctor Who Season 1, you'll know that 73 yards was one of my favourite episodes of that season, so I'm excited to see something more experimental in this point of the season again. For episode 205, Russell says, "About 70% ready. I had the great delight the other day of sitting on Zoom, screen sharing a sequence from this, and then saying to the writer, 'Can you believe you wrote that?' And oh boy, they were grinning. So this is one we definitely know is not going to be written by Russell T Davies. I'm hoping it's a brand new writer that we've not seen before, or at least somebody that wasn't writing in season 1. Although with that being said, I did like the brand new guest writers for Rogue in season 1, so I wouldn't mind if they returned for one of these episodes. But we at least have confirmation for this particular episode that it's going to be one of those not written by Russell this time, which is nice to know and going to be exciting to see when those writers get announced, who they are. For episode 206, Russell says, "We've already had a massive shoot and tons of edits and VFX, and yet I suspect this is about 8% ready. What an epic. We might finish it by, 2029. But wait till you see Sabine and Cora and Kid, and spoilers." So once again, it seems like this may be one of the very VFX heavy episodes again of this season, or maybe it's just that it was that late into the production that they filmed this one that it's not that ready yet, because he's joking about it not being ready until 2029. He's obviously hinted at some characters there, which we obviously can't get too much based on just their names, and he's even missed out one of the characters, intentionally not mentioned them because of spoilers, or maybe it's not a character and it's meant to be something that happened in the episode, but I'm assuming it's a character that he doesn't want us to know about. So whether that's a returning character or something, I'm not entirely sure. I'd assume it maybe would be, because if it's a brand new character, we're probably not really gonna know like who it is. Obviously he says spoilers there, which could be alluding to the fact that it could be River Song, but obviously spoilers doesn't necessarily mean River Song, so I don't think that's necessarily a nod to that, but I do feel like we're probably going to have some sort of returning character in this, or maybe it's some sort of returning monster or villain. Maybe we're finally going to get another Daleks episode and the Daleks are going to be in this one. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. For episode 207, Russell says, first of a 2-part finale. Still at an early stage, it's only just had the edit signed off and locked. Lots of work to come with a brilliant guest star and revelations galore, but this is an epic. So obviously we've now got confirmation again that we're going to have, of course, another 2-part finale, which isn't that surprising. That tends to be a bit of a theme, even with the 8-episode count, because obviously we had that for season 1 as well. There's no surprises here that there's going to be some revelations and guest stars in this episode. We might return to Unit again or something like that. But yeah, this is the first part of the 2-part finale, and it's still at quite an early stage in production, or I guess post-production I should say, because we know it's finished filming. For episode 208, Russell says, and this is an epic continued. This edit is still wide open, we're still finessing key sequences, but it's all been planned, we have time to spare. And he goes on to say, so that's 8 episodes plus Christmas plus 5 the war between, so we're at work on 14 episodes, just like the old days. And beyond that, he then teases a secret project where he just says, oh, you'll see. So this could be another spin-off that they're trying to commission, or for me personally, I think my bet's on maybe another episode of Tales of the TARDIS. Maybe we're going to get some sort of returning villain in the finale, and they've done another Tales of the TARDIS for it, like they did with Pyramids of Mars for Sutekh in the finale. I think that's the most likely option there, but let me know what you think that secret project is in the comments down below. And then he finishes off this segment hinting at future scripts, saying, there's tons of them sitting there, 3 different writers, 1 script already on draft 6. I'll work with them for a few more weeks, and then we'll park them until needed, because the decision to commission season 3 won't be made until after season 2 has transmitted, and that's always been the deal since the start. Hey, we might even have a day off, although maybe not, with the war between to complete and the rest of season 2 to hammer into shape. So besides a couple of little bits that I've decided to omit from this, that's all the information we got from the letter from the showrunner segment of this month's issue of Doctor Who magazine, mostly talking about season 2, but there's also a few hints at season 3 in there, some secret projects, and some more hints at the brand new spin-off, The War Between the Land and the Sea, that should be coming next year. But that last bit about Doctor Who season 3 nicely leads us into the next segment of this episode. Okay, so I just wanted to do this quick little video to talk about how you can support the channel if that's something that you want to do, if you like my videos and you want to support me in any way. The first main option is obviously my Patreon page, where you can get early access to videos, exclusive videos such as classic reviews and updates and things like that. The first way that you can support this channel on Patreon is as a free member. That is an option that I have available that's completely free. You just need a Patreon account, I think, and with that you get a free monthly newsletter, some little updates such as thumbnail previews, and also some free polls that I've recently started doing where you can greenlight which videos you want me to prioritize and make next. So that's the free membership option on my Patreon. Next, I also have the supporter tier, which is $1.99 a month, where you get early access to videos. I tend to post them pretty much as soon as they're ready, so it's not even always just 24-hour early access. It can often be up to like a week before the video comes out. You also get access to exclusive videos such as classic reviews, which is also one of the collections that I've made available for purchase if you just want to watch the classic reviews and not get any of the other benefits. Once you've bought it, anytime I update that collection in the future, you should get access to those videos. And my next 2 tiers are the producer tier, which is $4.99 a month, which has everything else in the previous tier, but you also get to commission videos for this channel. So if there's a particular video you want to see me make, whether that be a review of a particular Doctor Who episode or maybe even something not Doctor Who related, if you subscribe to this tier, you can just drop me a message and let me know what video you want me to make and I'll make it. And the final tier is a sponsor tier for $8.99 a month, which once again, you get everything else in the previous tiers, including the producer tier where you can commission videos, but you also get to sponsor a segment of my videos, whether that be your own YouTube channel or some other thing that you want me to talk about, you want me to shout out in a video. I do also offer the same tiers on YouTube memberships, but obviously there's less things I can do. I can't do everything that you can do on Patreon for YouTube memberships. Alternatively, if monthly memberships aren't really your thing or is something that you're not able to do for whatever reason, but you still want to support the channel, I do also have a Ko-fi page where you can make a one-off donation to buy me a coffee, or you can change the price to whatever you want. But I also have a couple of extra options on here where you can commission a specific video for me to do on the channel for a one-off purchase starting at £5. And once again, I also have the option to sponsor a video as well. But I do just want to mention this is just an option if there's any reason or any way that you want to support me. If that's something you don't want to do or can't do, support the channel just by watching my videos, liking my videos, leaving some comments down below. That's absolutely fine as well, and I appreciate every single one of you. So on June 11th, I must have missed this at the time, but we had an article about Russell T Davies sharing some production updates and status on season 3 of Doctor Who, where he says, "I'm working on a 4th script now for season 3. It's not actually commissioned, that's still up in the air, but that's the same for every TV program. I shouldn't say we're confident because that's asking for a fall, but we're very confident, to be honest, and we'll just keep going." And the main point of this episode that a lot of people have been pointing out is that he says, "Shooty's off to do a play, the importance of being earnest, and so we're coming back after that. Amazingly, we might be shooting those scripts early next year. Those scripts have to be ready by August for prep." So obviously the main point of this article is he pointed out that the scripts for Doctor Who season 3 need to be ready for August, and they'll be potentially shooting early next year. But we also know that Doctor Who season 2 is only going to be airing early next year, and that's when Disney will be waiting to greenlight Doctor Who season 3. Now obviously that's just the Disney part of this. Doctor Who season 3, at least in my opinion, is going to be going ahead either way. I think it's just whether or not Disney are going to be on board for it. But then we got this article as well before the transmission of the newest episode of Graham Norton with Ncuti Gatwa as one of the guests, where Ncuti Gatwa allegedly mentioned during his interview on that show that season 3 is going to be filming next year, similar to what Russell said in that Cult Box article, with Ncuti saying, "It's all going well. We did the 2nd series this year, the Christmas special is coming up, and we're filming a 3rd series next year." Now this article was released before the transmission of that Graham Norton episode with Ncuti Gatwa as one of the guests, and that moment, that line that I just read out, was actually cut from the episode itself, which to me indicates that he probably wasn't meant to make that announcement yet, because obviously they're still waiting for Disney to actually have seen Doctor Who season 2, waiting for that to transmit to the air and on streaming services before they greenlight season 3. So this has had a lot of people worried that obviously season 3 is a little bit up in the air at the moment as to whether it's actually going to happen and when it's going to happen, if it's going to be delayed. Because like I've mentioned in the past, Disney are waiting for Doctor Who season 2 to air before they make that decision. But for me personally, like I've been saying quite a few times in the past, I personally don't think we have anything to worry about. I think season 3 is going to happen either way. It's just whether or not it's going to be on Disney Plus or funded by Disney this time, which is pretty much what Russell has been saying this whole time. It's just a little bit confusing as to when season 3 is going to start filming. I think basically, like Russell says, everything needs to be ready by August, which has already passed, so that they can be preparing for those episodes to be filmed as soon as they get the green light. Although with some of these little tidbits at the end of the letter from the showrunner segment, it sounds like that they may not exactly be fully ready yet. I'm not sure exactly when he was writing this segment. It might have been in September, but like he said, they needed to be ready for August. But if they are ready fairly soon, like all of the scripts, then they might just be waiting for the green light after season 2 has aired from Disney, and as soon as they get that green light, then they're probably going to start filming season 3. But I don't necessarily feel like that's going to be early next year, and depending on how quickly Disney give them the green light. Obviously we've heard rumors that season 2 is going to be airing a bit earlier next year. Obviously season 1 was May through to June or July. I think we've heard that season 2 is going to be airing maybe some point near the end of March or the middle of March, so I guess by the time that's wrapped up they might have the green light by early next year, but they're probably going to more likely be filming kind of the middle of the year or something. But like I said, I don't think we have to worry about season 3 in general. Either way, I personally think it's still going to happen. It's just whether or not Disney is going to be involved in it or not, because like Russell says, they've always just kind of been waiting for the first 2 seasons to transmit before Disney make that decision. But season 3 could be with Disney, it could just be back to just the BBC on a little bit of a lower budget, or maybe they work out a deal with another distributor, another streaming service, to get season 3 made with and distributed to. But either way, I don't think we have to worry about whether or not season 3 is happening. I personally think it will either way. It's just whether or not it's going to be with Disney, I think. So that's pretty much everything I had to discuss in this episode of the TARDIS Coffee Break podcast. If I've missed anything, let me know in the comments down below. As for what videos are coming next, I have a few plans, but I don't know exactly what my next video is going to be. But I did put up a free poll on my Patreon page that any of you can vote on right now. You just have to join the Patreon as a free member, or even a paid member if you want. But you can vote on that poll for free, and it's going to give you a few options of what videos you want me to prioritize making next. Currently, the option that is winning at the moment is a video that I want to make comparing comparing 73 Yards and The Curse of Clyde Langer from Sarah Jane Adventures, as I know a lot of people saw a lot of parallels between those two episodes, and so I thought it'd be an interesting idea to rewatch The Curse of Clyde Langer and compare it to 73 Yards. So that's what's winning on the poll at the moment, but there's a few other options in there, like some Doctor Who Sheffield filming locations that I want to kind of go out and talk about because I live in Sheffield, and there's a few other options on there as well, like a Torchwood retrospective and some Sea Devils and Silurian videos. So if there's any of those that you particularly want me to do next, then feel free to join my Patreon either as a free member or as a paid member, and you'll be able to vote on there and decide which video comes next on the channel or which videos I prioritize next. I'm not sure if I'll have a video coming out this Sunday, but if I get around to doing it, I'll make sure that there is one out, but that's only if I've got like a quick idea that I can quickly put together. I'm going to try and make sure it's not another episode of the podcast this early, because I know I've done 3 in a row now, which wasn't necessarily the plan, but I knew these news updates would kind of work best in this format. Obviously, there's been a lot of mentions of Joy to the World and the War Between the Land and the Sea in this episode, so if you want to see either my breakdown of the preview of Joy to the World or my video on everything we know about the War Between the Land and the Sea, I'll make sure to have both of those videos on screen now.